So most of you are familiar with homecoming and decoration day, but just in case anybody's not familiar with those terms, I was going to share with you what the Dictionary of Smoky Mountain English says. So homecoming is a noun and an annual event when former members of a church gather for a reunion, including special worship services, and to decorate the graves of the church's cemetery. The term has largely replaced Decoration Day. See, it's funny, here where I live, they have homecoming, but then they have Decoration Day too. So kind of for me, in this area, you hear both. You still hear both. But this is what it has to say about Decoration Day. It's a noun, an occasion on which a family or church congregation gathers on a Sunday to place flowers on the graves of loved ones and to hold a memorial service for them. Traditionally, this involved singing and dinner on the ground, as well as a religious service. Same as Memorial Day, this event was held at various times in the Smokies, usually in late spring. The term and the occasion have been replaced by homecoming, which is usually celebrated any time from early May to late September, with each community having its designated day. So it was at one of those services, one of those church type services, where I was first introduced to chess cake. And it was one of my favorites. I always would look at when you go down usually at Potlucks, there would be a kind of the main meal, kind of the meats and then the vegetables and all that, maybe the bread at the end, and then there'd be another table for dessert. So I'd always check out the dessert table to see if there was chess cake there. And as I said, Granny didn't really make it, but after I was married, one of my younger cousins was selling, you know how sometimes organizations will create a cookbook and then they'll sell it to raise money. Well, this Martins Creek School did that, and he was attending Martins Creek School at the time. So this is, you can tell it's one of my most used cookbooks because it's got a lot of stuff spilled on it, and a lot of the pages you can tell have been wet. Anyway, when I first got it, back when I was first married, and was looking through it, there was the recipe for chess cake, which is not unusual because that's a really common recipe in this area. But what tickled me was that the person who had submitted it was actually one of those ladies that went to church when I was a young girl. So it was probably her chess cake that I was eating if she thought that recipe was good enough to put it into the cookbook at the local school. But now I'm going to show you how to make chess cake. So when I was a young girl, chess cake, as I said, is something I always looked for on the potluck table because I just loved it. But as an adult, after I was married, it became my go-to recipe when I was invited to go to a potluck. It's just so easy to make. It's ingredients I usually always have on hand. It travels really well because there's no icing or anything like that to worry about getting messed up. So it's really easy just to really put tinfoil on it and set it in the back seat of the car and take off. And it's one that's really a crowd pleaser. People really enjoy it. So I'm going to go over the ingredients with you, but as always, in the description below, I'll put a link where you can go see the recipe. So the ingredients you need are a yellow cake mix. Now, if you don't like to buy cake mixes, I'm sure you could make up your own mix for a yellow cake or a white cake. Just the standard cake is what you want. So you could do that in place of it. But if a box of yellow cake mix or white, I've used both. 1 egg, 1/2 cup butter or margarine melted, 1 ounce package of cream cheese softened, 3 eggs, and 1/16 ounce package of confectioner's sugar or powdered sugar. So that's all it takes, and we're gonna use a 9 by 13 pan to put it in. So and you bake at 350 for about 30, depending on your oven. The recipe says 45 minutes, but it typically takes about 30 in my oven. So it's one of those things you'll just have to watch as it bakes. The top will get a kind of a golden color, and just like most cakes, it'll kind of start pulling away from the edges. So that's a good indication that it's actually done. But first I've already got my cake mix in here. I am using a cake mix, and then we're going to add the butter and mix that up. Okay, we've got the butter mixed in. Now we're going to add 1 egg. Okay, basically those first ingredients, the cake mix and the butter and the egg, it creates the crust for the bottom of the cake. So we're going to get it out and go ahead and press it into an ungreased 13 by 9 pan. Okay, now it's just a matter of pressing it in. The butter makes it pretty easy to push in. You just want to push it into each corner. I'm sure you could try this same recipe and use a chocolate cake mix, and that would be good too. But I've never done that, I guess just because I've always enjoyed this way. This is a good thing if you have little kids. They like to do this part because it's almost like playing with Play-Doh. Okay, so now we're ready to make the filling that's going to go on top of the crust. Okay, now that we've got the crust made, the rest of it's just putting all the other ingredients into the mixer and mixing it up. So we'll start with the softened cream cheese. Let that go just for a minute. We'll add the 3 eggs. You might need to scrape down the sides a little bit. The cream cheese can kind of stick. And then we'll add in the powdered sugar or confectioner's sugar all at once. Scrape down the sides again and give it one more mix, and that's it. Okay. We're ready to pour onto the crust that we made. Kind of make sure it goes around to the edges, but really that's it. That's all you do. And then we're going to bake it. So I just got the chess cake out of the oven. You can let it cool before you cut it into bars if you're going to serve it immediately. Or typically if I'm going to take it somewhere, I just leave it in the pan and I let them cut it when we get there. I don't worry about cutting it. I let people cut whatever kind of piece they want, or let whoever's running the potluck cut it into the squares that they want it cut into. But around here, we're not big on waiting on things to cool. When a dessert comes out of the oven, we pretty much want to eat it right then. So you can see the golden brown crust, how it gets. You can kind of tell the centers where the ooey gooey part is, and then I was going to show you a piece of it. So I hope you'll leave a comment and let me know if you ever ate chess cake. If you try this recipe, I really hope that you'll enjoy it. But as always, mostly I just hope you'll drop back by often and help me celebrate Appalachia.